Morning everyone, welcome to today's WebEx. I'm Kelly Hayes, Product Manager from CMS. CMS are a value-added distributor of business and consumer technologies across hardware and software solutions. Today's WebEx is focused on two of our complementary vendors, CommVault and The Bunker. We have Mark Bell from CommVault and Adrienne Williams from The Bunker here today, and they'll be talking you through an introduction to their offerings. The WebEx will last no longer than half an hour. If you've got any questions, please feel free to use the chat panel on the WebEx and we'll have a Q&A at the end. Over to you, Mark.
Thank you, Kelly. So, for those of you that aren't familiar with CommVault, I'd like to give you a brief introduction to who we are, what we do. Conversations are changing in the marketplace. Most of you will have seen some of these changes with conversations with your prospects and customers, and then move in a little bit about why we should be promoting CommVault and why you should be interested in working with us and the Bunker to move forwards. The Q&A section there we're going to hold to the end, so please, if you do have questions, feel free to use the Q&A box, and we'll come back to those and clarify anything that you need at the end of the presentations. So, in conversations with your customers at the moment, you'll have, I'm sure you'll have noticed that or with less, deal with recovering data to people wherever they are, whenever they need it. Nobody has the luxury anymore of managing large backup windows and not having access to data overnight and at weekends and things like that. It's become ever more challenging for IT professionals who are your customers. Realistically, though, it's also a time of great opportunity for partners who are up to you doing things, and if we start to break things down into the realities of what data is being used for, only 40% of the data that you're selling the storage for, that you're selling the data protection software for, that sometimes you're managing for your customers, is actually used in production environments. Data is being consumed by what we call secondary workloads, and that's your backups, your test and dev, your offsite disaster recovery scenarios, your snapshots and clones, and any part of your data that you're using for analytics and reporting, which is becoming more and more important to people to actually make use of the data that's in their environment. If we take Gartner's advice on this from their 2015 backup Magic Quadrant, everybody's looking to improve just about every aspect of their solutions at the moment. Nobody wants to deal with multiple products, multiple versions of different backup tools, different archiving tools, different replication tools, and then digging into those with different analytics. People are looking to do more with the tools that they're using. Just being able to recover that data and use it from a data protection perspective, it's about managing that data environment. So why should we be looking at CommVault in this scenario? Well, fundamentally, because if we look at the legacy approach of how things have been done in the past and what most people are still dealing with at the moment, we're looking at multiple different tools to do remarkably similar jobs. Most people have started from this backup and recovery perspective. They have a management console, data storage to cover it, processing overhead that's needed, indexing tools, access points for specific to that backup and recovery tool. They have archiving tools that have similar processes. They have a similar console, separate storage requirements, separate training requirements. If people are looking to dig into the data that they've got and do some sort of e-discovery, compliance type search, tool, different console, different management requirements, different training requirements for people to use. Often different areas of the business that are doing this from the traditional piece of the IT backup and recovery piece. Replication again is separated from the backup, the archiving. But fundamentally it's a very similar process. You're talking about copying and moving data with most of these requirements. And at the end of that, we're also now seeing a lot of requirement for edge protection, where we're protecting laptops and desktops in the environment, and that's becoming less an issue and more of a production issue, where we're actually helping people to access data when they need it, rather than just using it as a data protection piece. So we're making use of the data. And for any vendors out there that are not CommVault, we're looking at disparate solutions. We're looking at having specific requirements, specific software leading to multiple copies of the same data, multiple requirements for maintenance, for training, for accessing that data, and that becomes very difficult to manage. As particularly once you start thinking about analytics and search, how do you make sure that you're accessing all of that data? So why do we not start looking at a tool that can do multiple jobs from a single location, to provide that, not just the archivational tools that we need, but actually the ability to dig into that information and from wherever it is to, with environments growing nowadays, this is becoming more and more in multiple locations. Single console, copy managers, single place to access all of this information, fundamentally giving you a single virtual repository rather than having a backup location, an archive location, replication locations, and probably multiple versions of each of those. We're talking about wrapping our arms around all of the data that your customers have got, helping you to provide a real solution for your customers that is going to help them drive their business requirements forwards. We can give them a single index to access all of that data. It no longer matters where the data is stored, whether it is on site in their local snapshots, whether it's on tape, whether it's stored in the cloud, which is becoming more and more common. We can understand what information they've got there and recover it. And all of that is through a single tool. We're talking about combining that physical, virtual, the cloud data, whether it's private cloud, public clouds, whether you're providing the software as a service. It's all available to you to provide to your customers using CommVault. To give an example of how we compare with the rest of the market, we can split this market down into the various sections there: data protection, information retention, mobile IT operations. Every other vendor out there, multiple tools to do fundamentally a single management. CommVault provides a single tool to manage all of that data, wherever it is, get it back to the people that need it when they need it. We look at the new disruptive type technologies. We have a similar sort of scenario there. And it's not just us that are saying this. We have been in the leader quadrant for Gartner's Magic Quadrant for the last 5 years in a row. A lot of good things to say about us. I'm not going to go through all of those individually. You can read those when we see the copy slides. But great news to see us in that space. So what are we doing? We're providing access to all of your data in a single data pool to whoever needs it, whenever they need it. It doesn't matter whether it comes from a backup, whether it comes from an archive, whether it's replicated, whether it's your IT department, your finance department, your legal department that need to search and understand that information. We can provide that tool to do it. But we're not just talking about one single tool that is expensive, that's complicated, that's difficult to manage. We can break those down into individual components to give you guys a foot in the door to new opportunities. If you have a requirement just for virtual data protection, we can fulfill that requirement. If that requirement expands into physical data protection, protecting applications, your SQL, your SAP, your Oracle data, Exchange data, we can expand into that. We can do all of this from a single console. Doesn't matter whether you start off in one place and expand into the others, or whether you start off with one thing as a whole. We'll work with you to make sure that we can manage your customer requirements and help them to move their data into the cloud as we drive things forwards with their business requirements. So fundamentally, This is a real snapshot, a real quick snapshot of the CommVault solutions. So we're more than happy to talk to you in more detail as we move, as we start to work closer together. But this single slide provides a great overview of what we provide, and we can help you provide not in your archive, to tape, to disk, to cloud, into clouds like the bunkers, where we're providing ultra-secure data hosting, but from a single location to provide your customers with strong benefits to their business. Now, so this. I'm getting ahead of myself here. So, why CommVault? Because we can start impacting how much benefits we're providing to, how much benefit your customers are achieving. We'll reduce backup administration because we have a single tool. We can reduce the amount of duplicated data in the environment because we have a single tool. We'll support multiple cloud platforms. We can provide minimal processing overhead because we only need one pass to provide backup and archiving and reporting. We'll understand what information is in the systems and be able to recover that quickly. And we have the industry's broadest support for integrating with different hardware platforms. So we're absolutely hardware agnostic. It no longer matters whether your customers are driving one single vendor or whether they are looking at multiple different hardware platforms. We can support pretty much everything out there. VMs, not just talking about backing up your VMs, but we can actually retire those VMs if they're no longer in use. We can make the entire system policy managed so that we automate what's available to your customers. So why would you be interested in working with CommVault? We want to help you move from being a reseller to being a trusted partner for your customers. And I know that's a cliche, but who can do this better than somebody that can actually look at providing real benefits to your customer rather than just providing a point product solution? We'll be happy to have conversations with you about how we can drive those conversations with your prospects and help you provide real value for your customers over and above another reseller who might just be selling different bits of hardware or different tapes or trying to get a different version of backup software in there. We're looking to reduce the risk to you, to your customers, to help them drive down their costs and to help you earn more margin while providing a better benefit to your customers. We have a 97% support satisfaction rate as well. So the customers that we bring on board and we start working with, they stay with us. They become sticky customers for you, for CommVault, for the entire solution, and it helps you to add additional service lines to this as well. We can start off with backup, we can move into archive replication, we can help drive professional services, support requirements. By working with this solution, with CommVault, with CMS, and with the Bunker, we can really help you provide that complete solution, a complete integrated data protection with secure hosting at the back end. So I've got a Q&A slide here, but I'm going to skip over that one for now, but I would ask you to have a think about anything that you do want to know and use the chat box to ask any questions, and we'll come back to those at the end of the presentation. From here, I shall pass over straight to Adrienne.
Thank you, Mark. Hi there, everybody. My name is Adrienne Williams. I'm head of cloud storage here at the Bunker. To do today is kind of give you all an overview of the cloud storage offering we have here at the Bunker and how that fits in with CMS's strategy to go to market with a comprehensive solution, engaging with both CommVault and ourselves to help you provide and differentiate yourselves when you're talking to your customers about data management. So a bit about the Bunker. The term the Bunker comes basically from where our data centers are. You know, it's quite quirky. We've got two former RAF and USAF command and control centers. So these are basically bomb-proof nuclear bunkers, one in Ash in Kent and one at Greenham Common in Newbury. Okay, so basically these are highly secure former command and control centers that actually provides total kind of security of your data, whether it be from a physical or from a digital perspective. As a business, we're a cloud service provider. So what we offer is a number of cloud services. As a managed service provider, a cloud service provider. We offer co-location services, infrastructure as a service, platform as a service. The key thing being ultra security through everything we do as a business. That's in our DNA. The part I'm going to talk to you today is a new business for us. This is the object-based storage business. This is highly secure cloud storage. Our business is run like our end users actually run their business. You know, we manage our infrastructure, provide great customer service, and we actually work closely with clients on how their data is managed and how they get access to their data in a secure environment. From an accreditations perspective, we've got accreditation second to none. We've got ISO 9000, we've got PCI DSS. That's very key for anybody who's actually involved in banking and holding credit card data. And then we've got the government and the health, IG, SOC, and HMG, CSG accreditations, as well as cloud certification for G-Cloud and IL34. That's a kind of called official now from a government perspective. So Mark kind of touched on the business issues out there. And really, what are those? You know, the problem these days is data is growing at like 50% year on year as a minimum. You know, in 2010, there was about, it says here, like 1.23 petabytes of zettabytes of data, which is basically a lot of data. That's kind of growing like 50% year on year. And it's anticipated by, 2020, there's going to be over 40 zettabytes of data. That's about, that's about 5 terabytes of data for everybody actually on the planet today. But the key thing about that is 40% of this data will need some kind of data protection. And the traditional infrastructure that we've provided, that we've all sold for year on year for the last 20 plus years, basically won't address these business challenges. So traditional SAN infrastructure or NAS infrastructure wasn't basically invented to actually deal with this explosion of data that they're seeing currently. And the costs associated with growing this your data requirement and hosting this data, that's cost prohibitive. You can't carry on putting more trays in more arrays. Your customers having management issues around what they do with this data. And by working closely with us and CommVault, you can actually take away some of these business issues. And also you've got data security. We all know about all the secure breaches that there are in organizations. They're in the press all the time. You've got more requirements these days. You've got safe harbor about where data is held and who has access to that data. You've now got the new GDPR, which is all around a European regulation around who actually has access to the data and when you actually deplete that data if you're holding customers' data. And also with your data storage, how do you make sure you've got the right platform, that storage? How can you access data quickly? You need to tier it the right way. And also as well as that, as a reseller, you've got partners, you've got resellers, sorry, as a reseller, you've got vendors coming to talk to you about flash storage, about hyperconverged technology, new innovative technology that you can take to end user customers. But how do they implement this in their business? If as a reseller you're talking to your customer maybe about flash or hyperconverged technology, then unless you change the way they're doing things, you put in more cost, cost and complexity into how they manage their data. So what's the kind of business opportunity? We're looking to kind of, jointly prevent the spiraling CapEx expenditure around storage. We're looking to help you secure customers' basic, most important assets, their data. We want to give you the ability to offer them compliance, so they know that when the GDPR European legislation comes into place, then as an organization they know their data is held securely and they won't be fined. There's some statistics coming through that there's going to be a fine for companies who don't actually hold their data securely of 4% of revenue to a maximum of £20 million. So the European legislation is going to come down hard on those organizations who don't hold their customers' data securely. And also, as well, is that with the growth of all this data, big data analytics, organizations will need to actually do something with this data. You can't keep storing data and not do anything with that. Your data that you hold is your assets, it's your IP, and using that through business intelligence can actually help your customers grow their business. So what is our storage platform? We're working closely with a company called CleverSafe to develop an object-based storage platform. This is hosted in our highly secure MOD level data centers. It's encrypted, ultra reliable, cost effective, and actually secures your data in a second to none basis. So what does CleverSafe consist of? CleverSafe consists of 3 component parts. There's something called the DS manager, there's the accessors and the slice stores. The DS manager is where the data is ingested into the system. The data is then actually encrypted, deduplicated, and something called the accessors will actually then send the data across storage, the underlying storage infrastructure, which is basically JBODs to you and me, and actually split that data evenly over the sites that are involved. In our case, there's 3 sites, and actually over all the drives in there. So as it's object-based storage, unlike file or block storage, then the way the actual data is split across the 3 sites will give ultra reliability, actually 15 nines resilience. So how we've deployed this in our network? It's straightforward, basically. We've got our 2 nuclear bunker, highly scalable, highly secure data centers, one in Ash and one in Kent. We've then got a 3rd point of presence in Telehouse, and a 4th one then within Goswell Road in North London. These are all connected together by 10 gigabytes, with 10 gigabyte connectivity, and then everything is load balanced. So basically, the data can be ingested at any point within the network. The data then is split evenly over all 3 sites, and there's basically then no single point of failure. So we could get to the scenario where one of these sites could actually go down, whether it be from a terrorist attack or power issues, and there would be still 100% data availability in the other 2 sites. Actually work with CommVault. Mark was saying about CommVault being able to deliver comprehensive data management, whether it be for backup, for archive, or for e-discovery, for disaster recovery. The way it actually works is that within the CommVault console, there's a drop-down menu which will actually provide a link directly into CleverSafe. All a customer needs to do is actually set up a specific IP address that is given to them by us, and then from a drop-down menu on the data that's actually being managed, whether it be file data, whether it be emails, whether it be data that needs to have e-discovery on, and that is basically just ingested into CommVault. It's then encrypted in flight. It is then actually ingested within CleverSafe within our data centers. It is actually encrypted again, and the data then is securely sliced and diced and put over the 3 data centers that I mentioned in the previous slide. So you may ask, what's the benefits here for current CommVault users? It's basically simple to migrate customers to the Bunker cloud storage. They've already purchased licenses. It's simple to set up and install by the CommCell browser. Everything about the data is actually sent through secure channels. So from the communication from the end user sites into one of our data centers, then that's all encrypted and highly secure. The encryption and the data then is actually guarantees availability and confidentiality of that data. It's dispersed across the 3 sites, and it's deduplicated. So what's it really offering the customers? We're basically combining, working together, looking at reducing the cost and complexity whilst ensuring the compliance of your client's data. Because of the way and the infrastructure we've got, it's highly scalable. So your customers can migrate and store cloud data in the cloud, you know, from a few terabytes now, or they could do in multiple tens and hundreds of terabytes. You know, because it's got 15 nines resilience and in ultra secure data centers, then their data is held highly securely. And with a single depository of data, then as an organization, they can carry out business analytics and actually be able to provide business intelligence on this data back into the business for actually their growth, as well as having 15 nines resilience for the availability. And one of the key things as well is that because it's cloud-based storage and it's on a consumption model, it's all down to OPEX, not CAPEX. So what that actually means is by them actually releasing CAPEX, then as an organization, they have money available to invest in other technologies. As we mentioned before, you know, additional licenses around CommVault, or they could have some flash implemented, or maybe some hybrid flash or software-defined storage, depending on what they want to do as a customer. So what are the benefits to you? It's a simple platform. You're all fully aware about CommVault. A lot of you are already CommVault resellers. It's easy for your customers to migrate this data. It's a drop-down menu for them. From your perspective, there's 30% margin opportunity, which is pretty good in this day and age. And it's a low-value cost sign-off from an end-user perspective because there's OPEX. As a business yourself, you can actually gain a PS revenue. When you're talking to your customers, there'll be some consultancy around the type of data they want to migrate and the period they want to migrate it for. So you can have your consultants going in there and actually have whiteboard sessions and sessions with them around the data they want to actually migrate into the platform. One of the key things, then, it's sticky. You know, once they've actually migrated the data and started to migrate the data, then because it's actually held securely, there's less chance of them wanting to move it to a different site. And because then it's all an OPEX, not a CAPEX, the release CAPEX, which will allow them to actually invest in new technologies with you, and then CommVault sales. So that's kind of the quick overview from our perspective. We believe we've got a very compelling value proposition to reduce cost and complexity in your customers whilst giving them control back of their data. So at this point then, we'll just have a look now at some of the Q&As.
Thanks, Adrienne, Mark. So if anyone's got any questions, please feel free to use the chat panel. We'll be sending out the slides to everyone that attended the WebEx straight afterwards. So, and obviously our contact details are on the screen there. So if you have any specific questions for any of us, you can email us directly. So just as a reminder, CMS can help you to position either CommVault or the Bunker, or a combination of both, to offer a full end-to-end data protection solution to your customers. Just let us know, and we'll be pleased to help. Just drop either myself, Kelly Hayes, an email, or Mark or Adrienne. Thank you again to everyone that's attended. Look forward to speaking to you in the future, and look out for further WebExes that will be running in the coming weeks. Thanks. Bye.